Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are back on the path to the Amalfi. And we're on Tier 5, which means we are now on the Tier 5 Italian cruiser Trento. So without further ado, before we get into it, don't forget we are on the path to 50,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So if you're not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and be a part of our journey to 50,000. Let's make it a thing. All right, let's look at our commander, Luigi Sansonetti, with Norman Scott, Nikolai Kuznetsov, Beyond Range, Home Run, Punch Through, Fixated, and Refill Station. For equipment, we're running the main battery Traverse Speed, main battery mod 2. Yeah. And then we are running Propulsion mod. And we have fully upgraded Italian Unity flag because it kind of looks like a Spartan helmet. And we're running the Type 4 camo for a little bit of extra detectability and incoming fire dispersion. Of course, we do have the exhaust smoke generators and catapult fighters. And honestly, it's at this point that I should probably point out that it should be in this neighborhood where you start thinking about pulling, changing your commander perk from refill station over to fully packed, because as you start to progress in the tiers, you're going to need the extra smoke and eventually the extra heals and whatnot. I'm assuming we get heals. Do we not get heals? Yeah, we get a heal at tier 7. But getting the extra smoke is actually pretty nice. So probably a good idea to start thinking about running the fully packed rather than the refill station. Okay. Specs: survivability 34,500 hit points with a 10% torpedo damage reduction. Artillery: you get 203mm 50 caliber and Soldo 1924s. You get 8 of them, reaching out to 16.7 kilometers, reloading in 15.7 seconds. 180-degree turn time is 21.4 seconds. AP shell maximum damage 5,508. And SAP maximum damage 4,850. Secondaries, we have 100mm 47 caliber auto 1928. You get 12 of those, reaching out to 4.5 kilometers, reloading in 6 seconds. And they fire HE with a maximum damage of 1,500 and a 6% chance to set fires. Torpedoes, you get 2 triple launchers, one on either side of the ship. They are the 533mm Tubo Lancia Loris. They reload in 71 seconds. They do a maximum of 12,667 damage. And they are very sneaky at 1 kilometer's torpedo detectability. Easy for me to say, I know. Torpedo range is 13.2 kilometers. And the torpedo speed is just 51 knots. So again, very slow. AA defense, 13.2mm 76 caliber Beretta 1931s. You get 8 of those, doing 16 damage per second, reaching out to just 1.2 kilometers. Then you have the 20mm 65 caliber Beretta 1935. You get 20 of those, doing 34 damage per second, reaching out to 2 kilometers. Then you have the 37mm 54 caliber Beretta 1938. You get 8 of those, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers, doing 46 damage per second. And the 100mm 47 caliber Auto 1928 dual-purpose secondaries. You get 12 of them, reaching out to 4 kilometers, doing just 40 damage per second. Maneuverability, maximum speed 35 knots, turning circle 630 meters, and a rudder shift time of 9.5 seconds. So not particularly, we're starting to get a little bit worse in the rudder shift department. But concealment, detectability by sea is 10.1, which is still fantastic. Detectability by air, 6.3. Guaranteed detectability is always 2, and 5.8 kilometer smoke firing penalty. Remember, you are a heavy cruiser now. So pay attention to your detectability. That has gotten me in trouble a couple of times. Anyway, we only have a 50% win rate on this thing. We've played 4 games, 2 wins, 2 losses. 54% main gun accuracy, again showcasing that even without going full accuracy on this thing, you can get away with pretty good accuracy. All right. Average of 62,000 damage, so pretty mediocre damage, unfortunately, and pretty low XP. So far, okay? Haven't had a lot of fun in this, but I haven't had a lot of good games. I've had a bunch of games that ended, like, I say a bunch of games. Obviously, I've only played 4 games, but I've had games that end very quickly. I've only had really one good fight that lasted quite a while. And we get to see that today. All right. So, for the front, you got 16 millimeters of armor, meaning you can be overmatched by 203 millimeter guns and above, I believe. Anytime I see 16-inch gun or 16-inch millimeters of armor, I think of heavy cruisers being able to overmatch that. Let me just double check my math. I can't speak right now, so I apologize. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm literally after the stream at this point. So that's a thing. So 16 times 14.3, 228. So I was wrong. So 16 millimeters is enough to bounce 203 millimeter guns. So that's good. You're protected against heavy cruisers with the exception of the British cruiser that has the 234 millimeter guns. All right. Now, the one thing that we need to talk about is I said that this thing maintains to have good armor all the way through the line. I lied, apparently. Actually, I just didn't know better. So this actually looks like it's got a decent belt armor until you remove everything except the citadel, and you realize that this is actually an exposed citadel. Your armor belt doesn't exist. It's just your citadel. So while you can deflect rounds, if you don't, it's going to end up hurting a lot. So keep that in mind. That is your citadel that you're deflecting rounds with. Overview. Good concealment means the ship can get closer to enemies before being detected. It can be equipped with SAP shells. And it has sluggish shots, difficult to aim at long distances. I didn't really notice any issues with that. But then again, I play a lot of American cruisers, so not really difficult for me to aim these sorts of shells. I feel like these have a little bit faster muzzle velocity than the Americans do, and they're relatively easy to aim. Trento belonged to the first series of Italian cruisers that were built under the restrictions of the Washington Naval Treaty. The ship carried 203 millimeter main battery guns. She was faster than her foreign counterparts and outmatched them in terms of armor protection, though to a lesser extent. She entered service in 1929. There were 2 of them in the series. So let's take a look at her. Again, pretty decently modern-looking cruiser. You got the tripod mast on the front and the rear. A couple of smokestacks in there for good measure. But overall, you know what you're getting out of this. So, with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we are going to be on Neighbors. And we are in the Trento. Now, I'll be straight up with you guys, I don't like the 203s as much as I did the 152s. I feel like the 152s just seem to do better for me. But having 203s does help out a little bit, and especially later on when you see that we actually end up overmatching somebody in this lobby. Now, I'm not going to lie. This is going to be a weird match. It really is. We're going to try to push up our side, see what we can do, see if we can create some crossfires and get some people into some awkward positions. And what's going to happen is our entire team is going to kind of kaputs, and we're going to be basically going carrier hunting immediately. Their whole team is going to meet my whole team in the middle of the map and just start slugging it out. Now, what I did wrong, I think, is just straight up going for the carrier. I wanted to use my concealment here. I didn't want to get too much attention on me. So you can see, like, I'm going to take some shots early on because we're not going to get detected. There's nothing here. You can see they're all running away. There will be a couple of people coming back this direction. But for now, they're all pretty much headed towards the center of the map. And of course, our Pensacola dies first. And that pretty much sets the tone for how this match is going to go. Our team is going to kind of get just beat up. But they get beat up, and we are going to actually try to give this team a chance. Like, when we go get the carrier, which we're going to do relatively quickly. I mean, considering what it is, like, we literally just end up bull rushing all the way across the map. And I think I could have probably shot some more rounds here. I was just worried that these guys would all turn around and focus me, you know what I mean? When I saw the opportunity, because our carrier spotted their carrier, I'm like, okay, well, I know where he's at, and if he's a carrier player, he's probably not going to move. He's probably just, if anything, he's going to reverse. So I'm thinking, we could easily make this a thing. And this is one of the reasons why I say we probably should have had fully packed on, because we needed an extra smoke in this match. I think if we have an extra smoke, I'm not saying we win the match, but we definitely end up with a better game. And we already end up with a pretty solid game in this one. We get to showcase some of the strengths of these ships, as well as the weakness. And that's what I always try to do in these videos. Like, I don't really care about the damage as much as I do, like, showing off what the ship is good at, what it's bad at, and dropping long-range torpedoes from nowhere, just hoping for the best, like filling gaps with torpedoes. That's what these things do really well at. These things also do very well at a kiting situation. As much as I hate to say it, like, if you get into a fight relatively medium to close range, and you survive initially, and you get turned away and start to kite, this thing is actually pretty nasty, as this Warspite will find out relatively soon. But you can see we're trying to measure them up. The good news is we have torpedoes that reach out a long ways. Bad news is likelihood of us landing any sort of torpedoes at these ranges pretty rare, right? Pretty slim. But pretty soon we're about to get into a position to spot their carrier, and we're actually going to outspot him because sneaky. Remember, these things are very, very sneaky. And this isn't even a concealment build. This is just a normal build, and we have a 10.1 kilometer surface detectability. If you built these things for like maximum stealth, you probably could get away with some really crazy stuff in these things. But I think you give up too much other parts of the ship if you go that route. But you can see the Moncukli over here. I know I always get it wrong, but there's the carrier. And watch what the carrier, like when we look at the carrier, watch what we do. First thing, torpedoes. Just get them out there. You never know. We know he's just sliding along the border. You can see what he's doing. So now we're going to aim a little bit high. We don't actually aim high enough initially. As he's reversing into the border, he's sliding away from us. And so these shells are mostly going to land short and do no damage. But that's okay, because all it takes is a little bit of, adjustments. We aim a little bit higher this time. And these shells are going to start to do some citadels. First shot in, and there we go. One citadel, okay. Maybe a little bit lower next time, Spartan. Just a little bit. And swing out, get the rear guns in. All the guns are away. We aim a little bit lower, but a little bit higher than the first shot, and bonk. There's the 4 citadels that you love to see. Okay. Now, look at the map and watch the cruiser coming towards us. Pretty obvious what he's thinking, right? He's going to come and try to counter us. Now, we fire the front guns, pretty much assuming that we're going to citadel him and kill him. And we do finish him off with a double citadel. But the Warspite's also here, so we have to be careful about that. But look at the Moncukli over here who wants to take a fight. So, unfortunately for the Mont, he's shooting SAP at me, and I'm going to be shooting AP at him. What this ends up with, as the carrier gets mad at me and tries to torp me and whiffs, what this is going to end up with is us getting an absolute raffle stomp on this poor little Moncukli. I tried to guess what he was going to do while I was swinging around to get the guns on target. I like to try to sneak the torpedo strikes when people don't know that they're coming. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if I can get these torps off early, then maybe there's a chance. Like, if he turns towards me or anything like that, like he wants to try to yellow rush me or anything, then we could potentially smack him. But here you can see, we're just going to pick him apart. Like, our armor piercing is just going to eat this guy alive. Remember, he only has a 13mm bow. So, we know this because we watched, or we played this just yesterday in the stream. Or not in a stream, but in the thing. But he opens up the angle and he's going to immediately pay for it. I don't know what he's doing here, guys. Why would he just open up the angle after he's firing a SAP at us? Why would he just open up the angle like that? Oh, he's probably torping, right? So we thought we could finish him there. We should have just fired all the guns and finished him anyway. We do finish him off. But now, unfortunately, we used our smoke like a doofus. And that's going to leave us without a smoke to fight. And this game isn't completely over just yet. Like, we still have a destroyer. Their carrier's gone. We have me. I'm going to distract this Warspite and try to pull him away. Now, initially, I'm going to use SAP for a little too long. This guy is going to be broadside to me for a long time. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Do not sleep on the AP, guys. You get these broadside opportunities, relish in them. Now, obviously, the SAP hit him really, really hard initially, and I'm thinking, okay, if we could do that every time, this guy's going to go down relatively quick. But guess what? We're not going to do that every time, because if we hit any armor with these SAP shells, what's going to happen? Well, 5,000 damage, but we starting to shatter and bounce. Or not bounce, just shatter in general. Or pinning his torpedo protection without finishing like any sort of actual damage. But this is the position that these things are very strong in, because you can launch torpedoes off both sides of your ship relatively well. There's our high caliber, as we've killed 2 ships from full health, and we're trying to take all the health off this Warspite. But this is the position that these things are strong in. But the problem is, I can't allow myself to get too far away. Now, every time this guy tries to hit us, you can see we don't have to go crazy with our dodges. We'll take 1 shell here and there, no big deal. But you don't have to go crazy. You can just dodge, you know, by just adjusting course a little bit. Especially when you're this skinny. But here you can see in between his reloads, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves turned back in. We're also going to go ahead and drop some more torps. And we're going to get into a position where we can close the distance again. And what we're going to look for here, and watch as we continue to spam a SAP here. This is when we should have been absolutely using AP. Now, we get 2 penetrations there. We get a couple of more penetrations, but we're only getting 1,600 damage there per pin. Whereas if we use our armor piercing, we're going to be doing a little bit more damage, because we're going to be pinning a lot more shells. We're not going to be shattering as much. This guy is sitting here for basically flat broadside, and we're at medium range at this point. So we definitely have the penetration with 203mm guns to go through that upper side plating for sure. And you can see as the Pensacola comes back to try to get us, we're having to pay attention to 2 separate ships shooting at us. But I'm trying to get back here so that we can close the distance, so we can finish off this Warspite relatively quickly, and then hopefully get into the enemy cap. Because again, this game isn't over, but you can see not quite able to dodge that one. Kind of mistimed that shot a little bit, trying to get the rear guns involved. And Pensacola shoots, again, swing and a miss. We get all of our guns involved. We take a good hit, and another solid result. Actually, a little bit less than we would have gotten if we shoot SAP there. Notice our penetrations that we're getting for overpins are only 1,105. Now here, I see a broadside Pensacola, and I'm thinking, okay, this is an easy chance to get rid of him. We dodged most of the shells from the Warspite, and now we're basically just ignoring the Warspite to try to finish off this guy, and we open up the angle a little too soon. Pensacola's fantastic. AP just punches right through our cheek and punches us right in the mouth. And unfortunately, the Pensacola became really stubborn about trying to give up a citadel here, but doesn't matter. We end up with 114,000 damage. We tried. We definitely did try, and I thought that, you know, there was a little bit of hope there towards the end that there, you know, maybe, because their destroyers were kind of thinking about maybe being goofy. But here, you look at these torpedoes. I'm thinking, wait, did we actually get him here? Look at him stop. He's like, should I go forward? Should I stop? And then he stops, and I'm like, oh my god, he's literally stopped exactly where he needs to be to eat these torpedoes. But then he decides to go reverse again, which actually allows him to get out of the way of one of the torpedoes. And are we going to get him with 2? It's close. Nope, only 1, unfortunately. I thought we were going to be able to finish that guy off. That would have been hilarious. Catch him with 2 torpedoes and finish him right there after I died. But we tried. And the last person alive, unfortunately for us, is a New York who's never played the game before, I'm guessing, because he's loading HE on a broadside of an Italian battleship at close range. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Italian battleships are very, very easy to citadel and kill at these kind of ranges. They go broadside like this. AP, my guy. AP. But again, these are lower tiers. You're going to run into players that literally have no idea what they're doing. So it's to be expected. Unfortunately, though, he does go down. But 123,000 damage with that torped on the Warspite. Pretty solid result. Overall, I think these things are still pretty good. Like, I don't hate them, but it's definitely a lot squishier now than it was at the lower tiers. And you have to pay attention, because if a battleship catches you just right, you're going to take those citadels, because you have no armor to protect yourself other than the citadel itself. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about the Trento. Do you like this Path 2 series to the Amalfi? And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.